October 23rd, 2023 Election Board meeting to order, and ask everyone to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next order is approval of previous minutes. Do we have previous minutes? Okay, and we've reviewed them.
This is just from the meeting of the 23rd only, is that right, I believe?
Meeting from the
From the 16th.
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 Right.
Oh, 16th, this is the
Yes.
23rd.
This is-
Okay, so I'll entertain, we've reviewed those. They were sent to us in advance. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from October 16th meeting.
I move to approve the minutes from the October 16 meeting.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, matter carries unanimously. Poll worker training update. Amy, do you want to do that, or Tricia? Do you have an
Poll work-
update?
We have the poll worker training beginning on November 1, 6 o'clock, and scheduled from there on out. We are putting the final touches on the new script that we will have and the slides that we will have as well, so that should be done midweek, and we should be ready to go fully. We're going to do another rehearsal, as we had done last year, just to, with the intent of making the poll worker training as efficient and as easily understandable as possible, with particular red flag issues that we know that need to happen. And we'll continue to be diligent about that.
Okay, will we be able to get a copy of the script or of the?
Yes, when, in its final form, I'll send it to you.
That'd be great.
And when you refer to red flag issues, one of the ones I think you're referring to is making sure that the signatures are affixed to all of the ballots, envelopes after the voting, or when they're absentee voting, that they're affixed before they go out. Is that right?
Yes, in addition to the back of the voted ballot, when the voter votes, receives a ballot, turns that over to the two clerks that are checking them out, and it has to be a Democrat and a Republican initials on the back of the ballot. So yes, those are two red flag issues that we're looking at.
And that's something that Chuck and I have noticed has been an issue that we've been trying to get on top of, is because, through no fault of their own, the voters end up not having their ballots cast because of a clerk error, either at the ballot location or in sending out the absentee ballot applications. And we don't have any choice except to reject them because they don't have two signatures. So that's something that we're really going to harp on this time around so that we can minimize that. I do want to say that I don't think that since I've been on, and I believe Chuck feels the same way, on the election board, that I don't think that we've ever officially passed a motion authorizing the training that's been going on. So I would entertain a motion to authorize the clerk's office to continue with the training that it's been doing previously with the poll workers, with the advances that it's making now for the poll worker training coming forward before this election. I'd entertain a motion that we, as a board, approve that training.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, the matter carries unanimously. Next up is absentee voting update. Amy, the floor is yours again.
We have had some turnover in the supervisory positions for absentee. There were multiple incidences of ballots being left unattended. We had they were both voted ballots that were left unattended, and there were live ballots that had been printed out and were ready to go to be in the mail. Those were unsecured as well. In addition to, at the end of the day, there were some voted ballots that should have been locked in the ballot room on the fourth floor, and instead they were in a cabinet, albeit a locked cabinet, but the keys were easily identified, in the voting area in the lobby. In addition to that, those are supervisor roles. Those are supervisor responsibilities. In addition to that, we were having some incidences of the ABS 7, which is a ballot security envelope that had been, both of them had been, or many of them had been signed in advance with the absentee worker's signature. And according to the statement that is on the ABS 7, which is a state-issued ballot security envelope, it says that the signatures are signed in front of the voter. And in many cases, they had been pre-signed. And so that is another violation of security. And the people of St. Joseph County they voted me in to protect the integrity of every vote. And after 4 different meetings and speaking directly about the ABS 7 being signed in advance, we still did not have the response from the 2 supervisors that we expected to carry out their duties. And so I wanted to take action on that. And one of the supervisors has moved to Mishawaka to be a clerk there, where she has no supervisory responsibilities. And the other supervisor has decided to resign. So as of 8 o'clock this morning, we did have 2 new supervisors. Actually, last week on Thursday, we had a new supervisor for the previous supervisor who moved to Mishawaka. And then this morning, we have a new supervisor as well. Things are going very well. They're getting acclimated to the system. And the very good news is that these supervisors have had experience doing this before. So the training time is minimal. And so far so good. It's 11:15 and they started at 8 o'clock. So I'm very, very pleased with the election board being concerned, as well as the 2 party chairs, with making sure that processes are followed.
Okay, and to add to that, this was a first for us as a board in terms of confronting this issue, and we learned, as is typically the case, that it's kind of a nuanced position within the election law statutes within Indiana, which on outward appearance would not seem to be what you would come to conclude, because these 2 positions are appointed as supervisory positions. They're appointed by the party chairs of each party, and therefore, because they're appointed positions, no action can formally be taken against either one, and there were 2 of them, 1 Republican and 1 Democrat, and no action can be taken against them without the unanimous consent or the approval of the board. So the issue was brought to our attention last week, and it was, as I said, in some ways counterintuitive, because these 2 people, while appointed by their county chairs, still have to go through the county screening for employees and still get treated as W-2 employees rather than 1099 independent contractors. And so it's something I think that we all learned, both us as a board and as the chairs of the 2 parties, that's a collaborative effort that we have to engage in order to resolve the issue. And I want to say that when we had our executive session last week, it was for the purpose of addressing that issue. And I'm very, very gratified with the efforts of both party chairs to address the issue without any kind of rancor or any kind of politicizing, and just trying to address the issue to get it resolved for the integrity of the election. And I think that as a group, we deserve to say to you, our county commissioners, thank you for your efforts and all of that, because I think we've been able to address something that we did not know existed in the past, and have done so in a collaborative way, and I think we have the matter resolved. So I appreciate your efforts in all of that.
Mr. Chairman, may I add something? With the process being that the party chairs nominate the absentee voter board members, the election board then must appoint them. So I think the board this morning needs to formally appoint the new, I believe they appointed formally Linda Tromboli on Friday as the Republican absentee vote board member. Today, the board should, per the party's, the Democratic Party's nomination, formally appoint the new absentee voter board member for, as appointed by the, as nominated by the Democratic Party.
And that nominee is it Annalisa is her first name? Chambly? Alicia? Felicia Chambly. And so I will entertain a motion to approve her appointment as the Democrat Party supervisor of absentee voting.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so let's make sure our record reflects that she also is unanimously approved by the board. And I will also entertain a motion, because we do have this other issue that came up that we kind of learned of as a result of our executive committee meeting, is that we had not, as a board, taken official action in the past to authorize the clerk's office to do that specific training for those specific individuals. And while it's happened basically every election cycle, and it's primarily guided by state law in the mandates that the state says, here's what you have to do to train these people, and that's what our clerk's office, I think, for a very long time has been following, we found this little niche that says, well, we have to approve that. So at least for this election, I think that we're going to entertain a longer, more formal resolution down the road, but at least for this election cycle, I would entertain a motion that the training that has gone on for that particular position of absentee supervisor, which the clerk's office has been doing, that we as a board approve and authorize that training for the rest of this election cycle.
I would make a motion to that effect.
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and the matter carries unanimously. We have other business.
I had one follow-up question, a couple of follow-up questions for Amy. So with respect to the ballots, I think there may be some concern generally about the ballots being not being secured at certain times when the supervisors were away from their desk. My understanding is that the area is itself secure, a secure area, is that correct? So that even though my ultimate question is going to have to do with whether any of the ballots were compromised or anyway. And so I guess the question had to do with the area first, that it was a secure area to start with, my understanding.
Well, as secure as a lobby could be.
I understand that. I understand that.
And our concern, my particular concern, is that both supervisors are responsible for attending those ballots. They come in, they have to be scanned in with a scanner. Sometimes there are, of course, multiple ballots that do come through. So all of those things have to happen down in the voting area. And the responsibility of both supervisors is to be very attentive to those ballots. So no, I do not believe at all that any of the ballots were compromised. But what I'm being very diligent about is that we do have responsible people that have those ballots not quite in their possession, but they know exactly where they are, and they are physically close to them. We have IT people that come and help quite frequently down there. There are voters that come in and out. So it is a secure area in one regard, but it is the clear responsibility of the supervisors to make sure that they have those ballots nearby and they know, because there are stacks of them. So we do want to ensure that every vote is counted and that someone is always watching and looking after those ballots.
Right. No, and I certainly appreciate the process and the concerns and the need to do that. I think I just want to make sure that in response to any inquiries about these particular ballots historically, that we don't have any we don't have any problem or issue, anything that we're aware of that would say that any ballots have been compromised or missing or anything like that.
Correct, no ballots have been compromised whatsoever, but I do think there's a bit of misinformation out there that I've just heard through the grapevine about it is ballot signatures. We never one time talked about ballot signatures. We are only talking about the ABS 7, which is a ballot security envelope. So absolutely no ballots themselves are we talking about. We're talking about, with the signatures, talking only about the secured envelope.
And I'd like to follow up on that. That's the envelope that's supposed to be signed after the vote has been tallied, is that right?
Tallied, I'm not.
After it's been
no.
counted, or after it's been completed?
Yes, after the voter has completed their votes, they either fold their paper ballot or they can set it face down on the table. The clerks, 2 clerks will initial the back of that ballot, one Democrat and one Republican, and then they hand that back to the voter, and the voter is the one that puts it into the ABS 7 ballot security envelope. The voter is the one that closes that envelope, and then the voter has to sign that envelope, and the 2 receiving clerks sign that envelope as well.
And that's the reason for my question, because were we not also concerned that there were envelopes that had been signed by the clerk prior to that whole process happening, where the voter voted and signed and then put the ballot into the envelope and then signed again, that we actually had clerk signatures on some of those security envelopes?
Absentee clerks, yes.
Right,
Mhm, right.
and those ballots, those envelopes actually say that the clerks are signing under penalties for perjury that this vote has come into this envelope. So we had these empty envelopes that had their signatures on it without any actual votes, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion, because we're going to also do a longer resolution about this down the road, but I would entertain a motion that we as a board formally move to prohibit our absentee ballot clerks and supervisors from signing that security envelope prior to all of those prior processes happening, where the person actually votes and submits their ballot into the envelope and seals it and signs it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I would entertain that
moved.
motion.
I'll second that.
Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that matter carries, and I think that addresses everything that we had to come up against last week with regard to those security issues. So,
Just one additional question on absentee voting. I understand we do have some numbers in terms of the number of votes cast as of the beginning of the meeting today, and perhaps either Kim or Tricia could give that.
So far, we have a cumulative total of 1,066 from the day it opened till now, literally an hour ago.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
In other business, I know that the League of Women Voters had submitted some questions to me, so I would invite them to come up and submit them to the group so that we can respond as collectively.
Judy Bradford, 1122 Claremont Drive, with the League of Women Voters. You've answered most of my questions. I think there's a little confusion over initialing or signatures, though. The absentee supervisors, do they initial the back of the envelope, or do they sign it?
The the only thing that's initialed is the ballot itself. On the back of the ballot is a stamp, and it's 2 squares that are right next to each other. And each clerk, one of the Democrats and one of the Republicans, they initial that ballot after it has been voted. So that's the only initialing that I'm talking about. The signature happens on the envelope, the ABS 7 envelope, which the voter puts his ballot into the ABS 7, and then it is a signature and the printed name underneath. Does that clarify for you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
great.
And also the supervisors also sign that, is that right? The absentee supervisors sign that?
They do not have to, no. If they're working that desk, they can sign. But the absentee I think that confusion comes from the absentee supervisors were pre-signing the ABS 7 along with everyone else. So whoever receives the ballot at the final stage and is the one who signs the envelope.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Somebody has to sign it as opposed to initialing that outside envelope, right?
It's
Correct.
the
To
person who
s-
takes possession of the ballot.
It has to be signed as opposed to initialized, right?
Yes,
Okay, I
yes.
think that was the question. Thank you.
And it is state law that says this has to be done on an individual basis.
Well, they attest in the statement on the ABS 7 that they
Okay.
are the ones that accept the ballot. And it is a state-issued envelope.
Okay. And I just want to be absolutely sure, no voters were disenfranchised. In other words, you're not going to reject any ballots as a result of this?
No,
Completed
absolutely not.
ballots.
That's correct.
That is correct. In fact, I'm hoping that voters are even more confident after this action that we've taken, just to make sure that they understand we are very serious about protecting every ballot. So,
All right.
yes.
I
thank you.
appreciate the motion to prohibit the signing of the envelope before the voter is right before you, because I think there's state law, and then there's interpretation and application, local application of state law, and there's just a lot of gray area there. So, thank you.
And I would respond to that by saying that we've been dealing in gray areas since we got on here, and that I personally appreciate how collaborative it has been with the party chairs in trying to deal with those gray issues. So I appreciate you saying that, and we understand that, and we're trying to grapple through that to make things clearer for everybody as well. Is there any other business that we need to take up?
I was hoping to get a check-in from our lead vote machine technician, Chris Lyle.
No problem. Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that. So everything's going very well with getting all the machines coordinated. As of right now, the election has been downloaded on each of the machines, the OVO, poll pad, and the Freedom Vote. So that has all been completed. Right now, we're just organizing the sites at this point. I'm happy to say that as of this morning, all the sites are filled with vote center techs. So we're ahead of the game as far as that's concerned. So that's a really good news for us. So now it's just a matter of just getting everything organized with the departments of getting the equipment picked up, getting that going, getting that done, kind of checking some more boxes as far as making sure that everything else is complete. But as of right now, we are ahead of schedule, and everything is going very well at this point. So thank you.
I think I can speak for Chuck and I in this response, which you probably have never heard before because you're too young, but I think I can speak for both of us in responding right on, Chris.
Thank you.
Chuck, you want to add to that?
Not to that, no. But my understanding that the vote centers themselves are pretty well under control, too.
Yes, thanks, Chuck, for bringing that up. The vote centers are under control. We do have 4 contact sheets we're still waiting on. I expect those to get done today. So again, we're ahead of schedule on that as well. We typically don't have all those until about end of this week. My goal is to get that done before the training happens for the poll workers, and then the in-person training that we'll have for the vote center tech. So we'll have all that done by, I expect, tomorrow. But very good response back for all the sites, including the schools, that sometimes carry over a little bit. But we were proactive in contacting them specifically, not only myself, but Kim and some other folks helped out with that. So I think that diligence and that proactiveness helped us get the information we need quicker than we have in the past. So very appreciative to everybody stepping up and making that happen and helping out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will now open the floor to public comment with 2 caveats. 1, each comment is limited to 3 minutes, and 2, it's not a question-answer session, so it's just your opportunity to make whatever comments you have without expecting a response from us. We'll try to stay available after the meeting if you want to have any personal dialogue. So the floor is open to public comment.
Bruce Mitchell, 4442 Huron Street, 46619. I want to say that when I got the message, seen a story about this on Thursday, I wasn't happy about it. I definitely appreciated the fact that the Republican side stood down. You know, I'm not a politician, but I have a lot of influence in the community, and I was prepared to come here today to deter voting this year if we weren't able to get this resolved for election integrity's sake. So I do want to appreciate Tom, Chuck, and Miss Amy, as well as Miss Diana Hess, and Tyler for getting this resolved, at least for elections' sake. It doesn't mean that you guys did anything wrong per the law, obviously, but in order to get people to believe in the system, we had to make a move, and I'm glad that the move that you made today was something that I could walk away here with and still be ready to vote as well on November 7th. So thank you.
Appreciate that, thank you. Any other public comment?
Good morning. Cheryl Nix, 17901 Sable Ridge Drive, Clay Township. I did some research on state law, and according to IC 3-11-10-26, it does require the use of the ABS 7 envelope and that the voters sign their name. Although if you look at IC 3-11-10-29B, it doesn't really contemplate an order of the signatures, so it doesn't specify that the voter has to sign before the absentee clerk. It does require, however, that the voter sign in front of the absentee clerk. So I believe we're dealing with that gray area. Thank you.
Did you say D or B for the second one?
B.
B? Okay, thank you.
So reading from the ABS 7, it says, there's the part that is signed by the absentee board members. It says, "We are the absentee voter board members who accepted the completed absentee ballot from this voter who appeared in person before us." So I think the reason why the resolution was passed this morning was to clarify that this, per what the county, our county election board has determined, is these should only be signed after a vote is actually placed in the envelope.
And I truly appreciate that, but the motion was passed today, and the people were called out and threatened with firing before this motion was passed, which strikes me as inappropriate for employees. And I would, I think that it wasn't clear. I think this, even with discussions, when you're going to make a decision, make it official so that there's no question. It is now official, there will not be a question. But to ask for resignations or to fire people based on something that is a gray area and not clear doesn't strike me as very just. Thank you.
Diana Hess, St. Joe County Democratic Party Chair. So I checked with Angie Nussmeyer with the Indiana Election Commission, who also responded that it is very vague in the law and that it is okay, before you pass this resolution this morning, that there is no sequencing of the signatures on the ballot, on that envelope, ABS 7. So as long as the clerks who work together are signing, pre-signing those envelopes, and they are the person that accepts those ballots from that voter, that is perfectly fine as far as the Indiana Election Commission was concerned. So that was a decision from the Indiana Election, or opinion from the Indiana Election Commission on that issue. So that, just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Mike McManus, 51940 Lilac Road. Luckily, thanks to the attentiveness of Mrs. Rolfs, this is pretty much a moot issue because, as I understand it, through the grapevine, she had all of the pre-signed envelopes taken out of circulation, and so the ones that, and this is why no votes were compromised, the ones that were replaced were signed contemporaneous with the voter being there. So thank you, Mrs. Rolfs, for making sure that any of the ballots that had been pre-signed, whatever the confusion about the timing was.
Ballot envelopes.
Ballot envelopes, yes. That is a very critical issue.
It's a
and
critical issue,
I thank you
yes.
for bringing that up, but I appreciate the fact that you made sure that none of the ballot envelopes that had been pre-signed were actually put into the voting circulation. And so the League of Women Voters, I appreciate their attentiveness too, to make sure that all of us, when we do vote, and I'm not voting in this election because I don't live in South Bend, I live in St. Joe County, but it's very important that we maintain the integrity of the election. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Let's, before we do that, our next scheduled meeting is?
November 1 at 5 PM.
November 1 at 5 PM here, is that correct?
Yes, it's an hour before our vote center worker training begins.
Okay. So with that noted, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Once again, the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.